Well, my thanks to Steve this morning for preparing our hearts and indeed the encouragement to, in this unique season of life, to treat these times as much as possible to direct our hearts to the worship of God. These are certainly unprecedented times. Thank you, Nick, and the music team and everyone else who's committed themselves to helping make this service happen this morning. Thinking about these times being as unprecedented as they are, we are in warlike conditions. The only time you would be in a scenario like this, where we are separated from one another for an extended period of time, is under the threat of war. And never has our country been in a situation like this, where we've had to separate, and certainly not in my lifetime have I ever seen anything like this. So I know we are each facing this unique scenario where we are having to respond to a circumstance that we're not familiar with. In fact, this week the church got a call to be a part of a conference call with Senator Marco Rubio to talk about the implications of this virus on the church and how the church should respond. And they had a lot of practical helps and legal questions that they asked and everything, just to get the church to think carefully about this and how to respond to it. And I appreciate that every one of you has taken our encouragement to heart and have not shown up this morning. While it is disheartening for us here because we don't get to see your lovely faces, it is an encouragement to our heart to see a congregation that loves the truth and loves one another and honors the elders and the leaders of the church and responded in such a way as to stay at home today and to minister to one another by keeping one another out of harm's way. Now, it's just amazing to see God's kindness on display in this season. We as elders this week have spent a lot of time talking about the implications of how to respond to this virus and how to respond to authority and respond to this pandemic. And we have debated it around to figure out what an appropriate response would be. And certainly in the midst of this pandemic, we want to do our part not to add any confusion or difficulty to the process, and we want to keep and preserve both the reputation of the church in the community and be able to minister to the church broadly. So we're thankful for your hearing that. In responding to our message this week, I can tell you that we had great struggle this week, and I personally had a great struggle from being able to identify where it is, where the line is, when we should indeed close our doors and respond in such a way as we are limiting our worship service under really what was just a suggestion by the government versus what should be done on our part to protect not only the church but our community and society and beyond. And I recognize at this time our government is doing everything they can to slow down the progress of this virus, and in asking us to respond, by us taking the steps and responding, it at least delays them from having to take severe steps. And when severe steps are forced to be taken by our government, it's going to have a significant impact on everyone. And so we know at this part, we're doing our part to limit the necessity of having to take those severe steps. And hopefully, this will be one of the ways that we're protected from a severe consequence that would come should this virus spread more rapidly. And I know the Lord will be kind to us in this season. I know that He is going to bless us during this time. I know we're going to face some difficulties, but in the facing of those difficulties, He is also going to demonstrate His faithfulness in our midst. He is going to provide for us. And I'm praying at this time that as we stand as a church on the truth, as we stand on love for one another, as we stand on demonstrating a tenderheartedness towards one another, and that our faith is being manifested, I pray in this time God's hand will be evident in our midst. I know this, above all else, that we are first of all Christians, so we enter into this difficult time with great faith. But we are also Americans and Floridians. And as Floridians, we're used to looking into the face of a natural disaster every year. We look into the face of an act of God and we roll with it. And we have been accustomed to every season adapting to the unique circumstances that come up by the hands of God. And whether that be an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane or fires or now a virus, we are able to respond to it and we will do it well. And I'm just rejoicing in God's providence in our ministry, because He has prepared us for this time as a church. He's prepared us with the live stream and the app and the various other elements of technology so that we can stay together as a ministry and be able to minister to one another in this time. So just many reasons for us to be rejoicing in this season, because we know it will be in our entire lifetimes, this will be but a hiccup or a speed bump in the overall, progress of our life, but yet it will be one of those times that we'll look back and reflect on and say, I remember where I was at on this particular day. These are times for us to be in prayer, times for us to be in prayer for our nation, times for us to be in prayer for the church, times for us to be in prayer for our families, for the protection and growth of our families, time for us to be in prayer for the gospel, for gospel witness to be going forth.